just for fun, and he still can't take me. I know that time is coming. I mean, it's a reverse situation. I'm going to get
Yeah,
slower.
with the yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had the same thing with my son. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when we were in our prime, like you're getting close to state, I would run I'd go on the track and do a warm up 5 minute. It was
Yeah.
insane. Like we just,
Just easy. Yeah, you're just not even breathing hardly. It's just amazing.
yeah. Yet, if I could do two of those, I would have a really good time for the 2 mile. I mean, a decent time, I should say,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not a college time. It's funny
Yeah,
that
yeah,
when you look
far
at your
ahead
time,
of the parade, the bleeding edge
yeah.
instead of the cutting edge. But I've been in solar for decades now, and I really believe in the industry and what it can do.
Are you still doing that now? You're not in that
I'm
now.
not actively with it. I'm working on the circular wealth
Hmm.
model. We'll probably bring a solar aspect into it, but not right now.
And the circular wealth, is that something people can actually go and look at right now?
Absolutely, it's active right now. We just launched. I mean, we're doing our stress testing right now. It's circularwealth.com, and what it is, it's basically a structure where affiliates can get paid a lot more because most of the time with affiliates you get paid 5 to 15%. We went out because of the track record both my partner and I have. We were able to negotiate commissions of 30 to 50% that our affiliates are able to earn. And what we do is the person who actually makes the sale earns between 60 to 85% of that, depending on their volume. The more you sell, it flows back to you. We have a partnership. It's a flywheel instead of a hierarchy.
Yep. So thank you for that. And what you said, conspicuous
Consumption.
consumption.
Conspicuous consumption. Yeah.
I love that. And I came up with something just for the heck of it for you.
Yeah. Please.
Since I do publishing.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Dr. Smiley Show. We have Morgan Styler here, a surprise guest, someone I just met recently who has an interesting story. And the more I'm getting to know him, the more I'm learning. So
I'm super excited to be here. I'm getting to know you and learn from you also.
so we'll just start off with, I guess, three tidbits right out of the gate, right?
Okay.
Number one, I said, how much do you like coffee? And Morgan said he's never wanted to try it and had no desire to get addicted to something, doesn't need it. Were the words, I don't
Yeah.
need
I don't need it. Yeah.
it. And since the show is starting a minute or two late because of coffee, I guess I did. I guess I did. Number two, we checked in on time, and golly gee, I learned that Puerto Rico, 6 months out of the year, is an hour ahead of us, or we're an hour behind them because it's the daylight savings. I guess we push back,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And then number three, I learned about his love for all things that you can be addicted to, and his dad taught him a wonderful lesson. So we're going to get to that in a second or two. So how are you doing, Morgan?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So thank you for being a bald brother.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to stick together.
And we're going to go ahead and start with who is Morgan Styler. So you're going to share where you were born, what your childhood was like, and
Okay.
let's see where the conversation takes us.
I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. My uncle was the governor of the state, so it was interesting being kind of in that political world. Moved to Santa Barbara, California, where my dad was a doctor. That's where I grew up. And what was the other question?
Oh, just what your childhood was like.
I
A
had a
defining moment,
Yeah, I
maybe.
had a really idyllic childhood. I would say the defining moment, my father died when I was 14, and I was just learning about this. Did you know a third of the US presidents had their father die in childhood? And a lot of really people that kind of pushed, and I read about it, said that it creates this internal angst because you feel like the world's not safe. So even though these great people had that happen. Hitler had that happen also. So you
Mm,
can go either way with it. And
mm.
I just thought that was fascinating.
That is a very large number. So obviously, uh, at a day that you tell me about the cigarettes. I just want to cut right to that because
Okay.
I'm kicking in here. So
Yeah.
you obviously didn't do it after you're 14,
No,
and
no, it was 10.
so what prompted the conversation or the cigarette?
Yeah, so I was a kid and I was just experimenting and I tried smoking a cigarette and my dad caught me and he was a doctor And it was pretty harsh, but it totally worked. He made me smoke a full pack of cigarettes, and I would throw up, and I'd have to keep smoking. I'd throw up, and I'd have to keep smoking, and it made cigarette smoke just repulsive to me. Like I can't even be around it. And I think he knew I would never get addicted to cigarettes, and as a doctor, he knew how bad that would be for me. And that was kind of my dad. He would
Mhm.
push like that felt really harsh at the time. He kind of had these two sides. Do you mind if I share a story about my dad?
I think it's appropriate.
So my granddad owned one of the largest steel manufacturing plants in Germany. And my dad was 10 when Hitler came to power. And my granddad wasn't a fan of Hitler. He retired at the age of 42 from his plant because he said, I refuse to make weapons of war. And Hitler obviously didn't like that. We were aristocratic. We had a castle. He drove a Maybach and all that. And it all got taken away by the state. He basically, and he said, if you don't support the Fuhrer, you don't deserve to raise your child. So my dad was kidnapped and put in a Nazi youth camp at the age of 10.
Mm.
And that went on till 14. Um, a lot of people don't know this story, but at the end of the war, Hitler sent all the kids out to fight, the people that were part of the Nazi youth camp, and my father was part of that. But his commander had a heart, and he said, "Just go hide in the woods. We're going to lose the war. It's over." And he didn't want to send these kids to be slaughtered. And so all these kids went hiding in the woods, but the SS heard about it and started hanging these children in the woods for desertion. And my father saw his best friend get hung, and he hid in the rocks, scared and crying. And it really formed a lot of his life because there was a deep part of him that thought if anybody knew that he was a coward and he hid in the rocks, nobody could love him. And he didn't tell us that story until the day before he died. And I'll
Really?
never forget it as a kid because it was the first time I felt my father light, like the energy around him light. Like he always had this shadow around him, this pressure, this weight. And it was hard as a kid because I just wanted a dad to play catch with me. And he just wasn't that kind of dad.
Mm.
And I think that experience formed it. The way he described it was he lied about his age and became an interpreter for the U.S. military. That's how he gained his U.S. citizenship. And he was one of the interpreters at the Nuremberg trials. And the way he described it was as he interpreted what his country had done, it was like he was doing them himself. It like went into his cells, and he
Mm.
carried that weight his whole life.
And he shared that before he passed, one day before,
Right before he passed. Like I feel like he had to share that before he died. And
to
he was a
free himself.
completely different man the last 12 hours before he died. It was really fascinating. It formed a lot of who
Mm.
I am because I made a vow that I was never going to live my life in the shadows like that, that I
Mhm.
was going to, for whatever it's worth, authentically share who I am.
Be free.
Yeah.
Be free. So your father knew he was dying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It took about 4 months. He died from an infection. It was a malpractice thing where he was getting a balloon angioplasty. He was a doctor. He was his friends doing it, and they didn't have all the proper procedures. I guess this happens sometimes with doctors and doctors. And his heart went into spasms. They had to open up his chest. The doctor didn't wash his hands, and my dad died from the infection of
Hmm.
from the doctor.
How old was he?
He was 49.
And from his interpreter, I mean, this show's about you, but this has an impact, obviously, from an interpreter. He kind of, I guess, taught you the power of language or the power of linguistics. Is that true or not?
He spoke 7 languages fluently as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
My dad was brilliant. He never taught us German. He never taught us any languages. Actually, I was a little disappointed in that. I speak Spanish fluently just because I was in the Peace Corps down in Guatemala. But I think his ability to understand all those languages gave him a unique perspective and view on the world.
Hmm.
Um,
Of
so,
course. That's really
yeah.
cool. So at what point did he say, time to be a doctor?
Um, he described like he carried so much German guilt in his soul, and he thought maybe if I could heal people, I'll
Mm.
feel better. But on that deathbed, he was saying, I thought it would assuage my guilt, but it was actually so hard to watch them get healed when I still felt so broken inside. And
Mm,
he just, because it was an emotional wound and he didn't know how to do it. And the one thing I give him credit for is he really tried. Like he went to all of these, new age 1970s workshops with Carl Rogers and all this stuff because he really wanted to get to it, but he was never able to really touch that place until right before he died.
mm. Okay, so there's seven languages. Oh, he learned them effortlessly from age 10
he,
on, or
he just had a gift, I guess. I mean, he got, Greek and Latin, and then from there it's easier to get more.
yeah.
So
Okay, very cool. Yeah, didn't play catch with you.
no,
That is sad.
none of that.
You know, I have the opposite issue. I want to play catch with my son, and he says I'd like to play video games. So I mean, there's always challenges. But he's gotten actually pretty good at catch because I've been rather insistent. It's one of those things you just have to
Good. You
say
have
you'll
to.
thank me
Yeah,
later kind of thing. I
exactly.
said I said at least I'm not making you smoke while you play catch with me.
Yeah. There you go. You can use my story to tell, hey, listen, what a good dad I am.
Well, I'll tell you what. Actually, I'm probably gonna. My son gets home today. I'm probably gonna have him listen to the first 10 minutes because I think it's not about whether you're a good dad or not. It's just what experiences people have. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, who was the governor?
Oh, Romney, George
George.
Romney. Mitt is his son.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that obviously had some defining moments, aren't you? Tell me about that defining moment with regard to who you are today.
I think it, like when I look at my life, there's a pattern of confronting, like one of the big stories in my life, and I'll share that after this, but the person was like an echo of Hitler. And I hesitate to say that because it's not anything close, but he had that same sort of authoritarian domination, brutality. And I truly believe the universe brings things in our path to heal patterns or frequencies or echoes that our ancestors weren't able to heal. I mean, my father at 10 or 14 could never stand up to Hitler. So I think I was put in places where I could stop that pattern from happening because he gave me, like, he used to tell us all the time, evil will triumph when good people say nothing. That was
Mhm.
like his mantra. And it just stuck with us. And it gave me this feeling of responsibility that when you see something wrong, you have to do something.
That is a very good mantra, though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that is for a kid to hear that and have it echoed over and over again. It it embodies that you cannot watch bad things. You have to do
Nope.
something about it, which I guess
You
leads
have a
to our story,
responsibility.
leads to
Yeah.
our story later, which
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, in the military, when I went to Johns Hopkins and we took the course on morals and ethics, it's a very painful course because
Uh-huh.
it wasn't that I disagreed. It's that the outcome was typically you lose your career, but you have to stand up and report something.
Exactly. It's funny you say that because I just learned about something that I can't believe I didn't know about. I'm a student of history and I love history. Did you know in 1933, there was actually a plot that was funded or organized? They were going to have 500,000 veterans march on Washington, led by the most decorated Marine in history. And they had the money, they had the finances, they had the structures. And the only thing that stopped it was he stood up, went to Congress, blew the whistle, and stopped it. And it's just fascinating
Hmm,
that that could have happened. I mean, they basically thought the New Deal was going to destroy America. These are the big financial money, the DuPonts, the
right.
Sterlings, the Morgans, and they wanted to stop it. And I had no idea it even happened. It's been erased from the history books.
Yeah, your dad was a good dad.
I think he was. And I couldn't appreciate it fully as a kid, but what he instilled in me, I so deeply appreciate.
Yeah, I can tell. So from age 14, you're navigating new waters. You have a little bit of anxiety, I'm guessing, of what life is like now. So what did you choose to do in your early 20s that kind of led you to where
Yeah,
you are now?
one of the big things that influenced my childhood that I didn't talk about, I stuttered really bad as a child, and I still stutter a little bit, but as a child, I couldn't get words out. And I'd go up to kids in the playground and go, "Hi, I'm Morgan," and they'd go, "Hi, Morgan," and that was my name. That's what they called
Mm,
me. And I'd laugh along because I wanted to be accepted and liked, but inside it tore me up, and it made my world very internal. I spent a lot of time in my head. So that was a big part of my childhood. But as far as what I did in my 20s, I mean, I went to college. I had a track scholarship, really amazing. I had an amazing group of friends in high school and college. I went in the Peace Corps for 2 years in Guatemala, which was a transformative experience. I think one of the most impactful things that happen there, and I didn't know this either, when chemicals get banned in the United States, sometimes they're sent to developing countries as a tax write-off because they don't just want to throw them in the trash. They have to pay for that. So they send them there and they write it off in their taxes. And I remember seeing a woman, she was spraying her field and she was holding the child in her arms, and the
geez.
wind shifted and all the spray went back on the child. And this child just started convulsing and it died in her arms. And I saw that. And it was because our government had a policy that an accountant somewhere said, "Oh, it's better for us financially to ship it over there." They obviously didn't know it was going to kill a child, but
Right.
that's the unintended consequences that happen when you don't think through policy. So that was a big impact on me.
What percent of people stutter?
I've never looked up the percentage. That's interesting. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I might do that, but how'd
Okay.
you overcome it? Because so I wouldn't use the word inordinate, but I've had my fair share of people that are really amazing speakers and leaders, and
Yeah.
yes, they do have their little trip every once in a while,
Yeah.
and they're just incredible people,
I
and and I say that from a standpoint they're conversationalists, they're cerebrally like really phenomenal,
yeah.
and so uh, the last person I had, he told me how it just almost went away completely because of a grandmother. So tell me your story of how you were able to overcome it.
Yeah. One of the seminal moments that I remember was my first big speaking gig. I was about to go up on stage in front of about 5,000 people, and
Wow.
I was nervous. I was in the back. I was, going back and forth. And one of my mentors looked at me. She goes, "Why are you so nervous?" I'm like, "Well, because I want to do a good job. I want to make sure I present the company well and all that stuff." She goes, "Oh my gosh, Morgan, stop. This is not about you. You just have to let the divine move through you and you become a vessel. If you make this about you," and she said something I'll never forget, because she said, "You're nervous, you're going to stutter, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "If you can turn your fear into your career, you've done something with your life." And that just made me go, "Oh." And so I made my career doing public speaking. I mean, I did that for a decade where I mean, the biggest audience I was in stage in front of was 25,000 folks. And I really enjoyed it. It was a fascinating time of my life. So I think that's what really helped me is,
What do you speak about? What was your topic for the 5,000, and how'd you get that gig?
yeah, well, it was for the company. And if you want to go into that, we can. We created
I want to go
the
into it for a minute or two
yeah,
because that's an overcoming a big obstacle. And my
yeah,
show is about leadership, and one of the things in leadership is overcoming things that hold you back from being a great leader. And
yeah,
I'll tell you what. Before you give that little short story, okay? Because we're not going to go
yeah,
too deep there.
yeah, yeah.
I'll just share because you've been educating me all the time. I'm gonna help you a little bit. You ready?
Please. Yeah.
So about 1% of the world's population
Oh,
stutters.
really?
That's
Fascinating. Thank you.
about 3 million people.
Okay.
And stuttering is more common in children, with about 5% of children going through a period of stuttering. So there you go. You
Yeah.
can you can all look it up later, but um,
Thank you.
I've always been fascinated. Can I tell you really quickly the story of the person who
Please.
and his name is Prince Saccone. He's a public speaker,
Okay.
very 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 polished guy. And he said that he stuttered, and his grandmother one day just said, "Breathe, just stop and breathe before you say anything." And he
Yeah.
did, and he overcame most of it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people think, you're nervous, and I mean, I'm sure that's some of it, but it's almost like there's a glitch in the matrix. Like there's a frequency that goes zzz, zzz, and it's just something in the brain that gives a little shock. Not a shock, but a glitch. That's the best way I can
And
describe
I
how it
messed up. His
feels.
name is Saccone Prince, not
Okay.
Prince Saccone. So,
Okay.
all right. So that opportunity you had to speak, they said of all the people in the company, you stutter the best. Let's put you in front of the 5,000.
I think the stuttering actually helped me in a way, like because it made me more approachable, or like I'd have people come up to me afterwards, she goes, and they say like, I didn't know if I could do this, but when I saw you up there, I knew I could do it. And I didn't know if they were to take that exactly. But it made me more vulnerable and more approachable in a way.
Yeah, that's awesome. All
Yeah.
right. And then the 25,000, what was, why was that one?
Yeah. So when I got out of the Peace Corps, first of all, I never thought I would get in sales at all. Like it was the farthest thing from my mind. But my wife had some medical challenges. We didn't have health insurance yet, so and then we became pregnant. So we went like $60,000 in debt in like 6 months, and I'd never made more than $8 an hour in my life. So I'm like, I feel like I'm already failing my unborn child, and I'm in a panic. So I'm looking through the newspaper, and I saw this ad that said, "Make six figures saving the environment." So I was like, I'm in. This sounds amazing. So I go down to this meeting. I've never seen anything like it. It was one of those, multi-level marketing companies. I'd never heard of the industry at all. And they explained it to me, and I thought I found happy land. I thought this was the greatest thing in the world. I can help people become successful and, environmental products and all this.
Did it start
And
with the letter A?
no, it started with E. It was called Equinox.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard of that one. Okay.
Yeah, and we actually became the fastest growing company in the United States. We were on the cover of Inc. magazine. And my personality is when I just put my head down and I go, I just run. And after I lifted my head after 7 years, I was one of the top 10 money earners in the company out of a million folks. I was one of the national trainers doing seminars. And we'd have these big, huge events, and like Las Vegas, huge coliseums where 25,000 folks would show up. And just to be clear, I was not the lead speaker as those. The owner of the company was Bill Gould, but I'd be up on stage with him and stuff. And if you've never been on a stage like that, it's like a drug. I mean, I tell you, it is just like adrenaline right into your vein. There's a feeling and an energy. And the beauty of that experience was I saw how many people want to be part of something transformative and want to join a movement that feels like it could help change the world. But I also learned how easily it can be manipulated if the core is not pure.
I.e. Hitler.
I.e. Hitler. And that's what happened there was once I reached the top, it was like pulling the curtain back from the Wizard of Oz. And I had this real crisis of consciousness because I was in my, early 30s. I was making just ridiculous amounts of money. I had recognition, fame, all the things you think you want. And once I saw some things, I didn't know if they were ethical. I didn't even know if they were legal. I I walked away. I left the company and I wrote a book more as a cathartic experience. I wasn't expecting to have what happened to happen. But what happened was the FTC found my book somehow and they ordered a case, and all of them read it, and they called me up and said, "We're going to shut them down. We read your book. What they're doing is wrong. Will you testify?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And they said, "Well, don't say it casually because the Equinox will sue you. And as the federal government, we can't defend you. So you have to defend yourself." So it's a long story, but we went to court. Equinox sued me for $2 million. Um, I got to share this story because one of the smartest things my mom ever had me do, and it might help some of your listeners if they have a similar situation, is when I wrote the book, she had me add a slander clause to my homeowner's insurance. cost me $80 a year, but it covered me for $2 million of slander because slander just doesn't happen a lot. So insurance is like, sure, whatever. Well, when I got sued for 2 million, I just forwarded it to the insurance company. They defended me completely for free. And as soon as Bill Gould found out that I didn't have to defend myself because his whole tactic was to bury you in legal fees,
Right.
because I couldn't have afforded it. So once he found out that I had free lawyers, he dropped the case because he's like, oh, we can't win. We just wanted to, hurt the guy. So
Yeah.
if you ever write a book where you might get sued, get a slander clause added and you can thank my mom. So,
I will start off by thanking her now. Thank you, Mom.
yeah,
But
my mom is awesome. She actually lives with me here in Puerto Rico. We moved here about 6 months ago. She's 90 years old. We walk a mile around the land every single day, and one of the things I respect so much about her is as the veil is getting thinner between this world and the next, she's really looking at every experience in her life and how she acted small or acted from fear and how she can open her heart more. And it's such a beautiful process to watch. And I wish more people really took the time to do that and not just when they're dying,
right.
throughout their life.
So you've been doing that with your mom for a long time,
Yeah, absolutely.
and so it's Mom Styler.
Yeah. Well, she's strong. It's actually my favorite love story in the world. Do you mind if I share it?
I don't, but
Is it
I
off
wanted
topic?
so her last name is Strong.
Yeah, strong because when my dad died at 14, she
Remarried.
remarried. Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to say I am going to dot my I and cross my T. Mom Strong, thank you so much for the slander advice on this show.
Yes.
All right, now your story.
Okay, so like I said, my dad used to go to these personal growth workshops, and he was at one up in Esalen. And the husband and wife had to be in separate groups because sometimes it's hard to process your emotional stuff when your spouse is there. So my mom's in this circle without my dad, and she walks in, and directly across from her is this man, and she said her knees went weak. She looked at him, and she didn't know how to process it because she's married to my dad and loves my dad. And during the break, she goes up to my dad and says, "Listen, I don't know what to do with this feeling, but this just happened." And my dad, instead of being the typical insecure, jealous, reactionary male, says, "Well, we need to know this man. We need to, he needs to be part of our life." So he flies this guy, Doug, down from San Francisco to our home in Santa Barbara, California. Doug stays the weekend, ends up becoming best friends with my mom and best friends with my dad for
Hmm.
8 years. And my mom and Doug both admit that they have this love for each other, but they totally respect the sanctity of marriage. They never act on it physically. And when my dad died, his last wish that he told me, the last words he said to me was, "My greatest wish is that your mom will marry Doug, but don't say anything because I don't want them to feel any pressure from the grave." And I told him that story on their wedding day, and they were married for 32 years. And she was the second love of her life. He was the second love of her life. And I think about that so often because what if my dad had been small? What if my dad had been insecure? What if my dad had been scared? He had no idea he was going to die, but he just wanted more love and more experience for his spouse. And to me, that's what true love really is.
It is. It is. I do want to hop back for a second to the
Yeah.
track. So your track scholarship.
Yeah, one of my claims to fame is I broke the 4 minute mile, and I got a full track scholarship. It's kind of a funny story how it happened because I loved sports in high school, but I played basketball, and I just wasn't good enough to play basketball in college. And my uncle had won NCAAs 4 years in a row in track, and so I thought I've always been really fast. I always could run. Let me try track it in college. So I went up to the college track coach. This was at Long Beach State where I went my first year. And I said, "Coach, I'd like to run for the team." He's like, "Well, what were your times like in high school?" And I said, I've never run. And he goes, "Son, you don't just walk onto a college track team. These guys have been training for years." And I still don't know what made me say it, but I looked him dead at the eye. I said, "Coach, you let me run and I'll be your number one guy by the end of the year." And he walks me over to all the long distance runners because I was thin, so he figured he's got to be long distance. And he goes to him and says, "This guy's never run in his life, but he says he's going to kick all your asses by the end of the year. Why don't you take him out for a little run?" So he wanted to test how how tough I was. So they took me out for a 10 mile run. And, I finished. I was last, but I kept running. And by the end of the year, I was the number one guy on the team. And I ended up getting a full track scholarship to UCSB.
That's no joke. Under 4 minute mile.
Yeah, no, it was,
It's
I
all.
was
It's also
fast.
no. It's also no joke to walk on a team and get it. You did it within 1 year. You got down to four
Yeah,
minutes.
well, the interesting thing that happened was I had a heart condition that went undiagnosed. So at the end of the year, I started fainting in a lot of my races. And the the team lawyer basically said, we can't, our insurance won't allow you to keep
Right.
running. And I went up to UC Santa Cruz because I thought, well, let me just get a good education. I didn't have a scholarship then, but I ran an open race and I broke the course record by like a minute. And the coach at UCSB heard about it and he called me up and said, "Hey, I talked to our lawyers. They'll cover you. Come on down. We think you're fine." So I came down and I ran for 3 years for UCSB, and I still had some fainting issues, not as badly as I did at Long Beach State. Um, but they did find out later that I had a heart condition, the same condition my dad died from. Um,
Yeah.
it's
So that 1 minute you broke the record, was that cross country?
No, that's on the track.
That was on the track.
You can run much faster on the track than you can cross country.
Oh, no, no doubt, no doubt. I was
Yeah.
just wondering if
Oh, the race that I broke. Yeah, that was cross country. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
I picked it up.
Yeah. You got it.
So I was a cross country runner, and
Oh, cool. Were you really?
I was, and I guess I was good enough to, you're supposed to go as a team,
Yeah.
but at the end of the year, especially, I mean, in Maryland, I don't know about all other states, if your team can't make it, but you
Yeah.
made it as a single,
Exactly. You go
yes,
individually. Yeah.
yeah, I went individual to state and finished in the top
That's
25.
impressive.
Not too bad, and
I'm sorry, what I didn't catch that. You what?
I finished in the top 25 in the state.
That's unbelievable, man. You kidding me? That's awesome.
And the second part is I always, when I talk to people and they say they're a track runner, especially a miler, I usually have a better time, but you have smoked me. But as a senior, my best time was a 4:35. But
That's good. Yeah, good deal.
4 minute, under 4 minutes. So you were busting under 60s.
Yeah, yeah. Under
That
60s
is
a lap.
that is really,
I went out and tried to do it a few years ago, just run a 160 lap.
I know.
I
It's
felt like I was sprinting the whole way. It
oh
felt
no,
so fast. It's
I
unbelievable.
yeah. When I tell people that, I mean, my son, for my age, I'm fast still. I
Yeah,
mean, and it's only like 5% of adults sprint. It's very few,
yeah.
and
It's
so
it's so important to keep it going. It
yeah,
really is.
and so I do sprint every once in a while just for fun, and he still can't take me. I know that time is coming. I mean, it's a reverse situation. I'm going to get slower.
Yeah,
He's going to
yeah,
get
exactly.
faster.
Yeah. I had the same thing with my son. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when we were in our prime, like you're getting close to state, I would run I'd go on the track and do a warm up 5 minute. It was
Yeah.
insane. Like we just,
Just easy. Yeah, you're just not even breathing hardly. It's just amazing.
yeah. Yet, if I could do two of those, I would have a really good time for the 2 mile. I mean, a decent time, I should say,
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
not
yeah.
not a college time. It's funny
Yeah,
that when
yeah.
you look at your time, how you can only go back so far in history, and you're like, I would be the world's fastest man in the world.
Well, yeah, no, exactly.
Now I had to go further back than you.
Yeah, yeah. I just had to go to Roger Bannister.
Yes.
I
And then
did
all of
it.
a sudden they all took. So I'm not going to spend too much time, but obviously I'm very interested in the
Yeah,
fact
yeah,
that
of
you broke
course.
four.
Yeah.
Um, did you go out in a 58, or was it to go sub and then keep that pace and then you had 159 or 60? What was the
Yeah, actually, I got to correct a little bit because on the track, the fastest I did, because you don't run the mile on the track that often. So I did a 3:43 1500, which equates to a 4 minute mile, but I never broke it on the track. I broke it on, it's called the State Street Mile. It's a race in Santa Barbara where you
okay?
run down State Street. And it's straight. You don't have any turns. It's just a straight run. So
Gotcha.
I broke it in that. Yeah. So
It's
I don't know what my splits were. Um, I just raced.
that's a phenomenal pace. That is just
Yeah.
and like you said, anyone that doubts that pace, you can't most people can't do.
Go out and
No,
run a
most people
quarter
can't.
mile in 60 seconds and,
Oh,
and
forget
talk
about
to
it.
me.
Try and do it in 200. Just try and do a 200
Yeah,
then.
200 too. Yeah. It feels fast.
Yeah, because the people that do a 200 in track, you're like, how the heck did you just do 100 twice? Like, it's so
Yeah,
close. The time is so close.
exactly.
That's a
That's
monster.
all out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And so
to me,
that,
the hardest race, the most painful race is the 800.
oh, the half
Um,
mile is ridiculous.
oh, it just hurts.
It's a sprint endurance. It's sprint endurance.
Exactly.
It is
Yeah.
is the hybrid of hell.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Because no matter what race you do, if you put everything into it, you're dead. But
Yeah.
that
That
one's
much.
wicked.
Oh, God, it just
Yeah,
hurts.
we had so
Yeah.
much respect. God, the guys who are 800s, they have some legs, man.
Yeah. My fastest there was a 1:49.
That's
It,
crazy.
it, it, it wasn't my best event, but that was,
Yeah, mine was just 1 second under two. That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And man, did it kill us! But
Oh man,
we
that
went to
hurts.
state. I was the slowest guy on the 2 mile
Oh
relay.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our other guys were doing 150. So but they
Yeah.
didn't have a fourth that could carry under two, and
Yeah. I
I just
gotcha.
barely got it. All right, well,
Yeah.
so that was quite a story about the book, and you gave me the reason. Like, there's so many people that send me books, and you're like, you're not going to really need to read this book.
Yeah. I wrote it 30 years ago, and
All right, so let's continue. What are you doing
okay.
now in life? What's your big mission that you do?
Yeah.
And
So
what brought you to Puerto
absolutely.
Rico? Let's also add that into the mix. What brought you to Puerto Rico?
Okay. I'll start with that. So I've been taking care of my mom, and she was in this retirement community where all the homes look the same. And it was just killing my soul. And I just said, Mom, I love you and I want to take care of you, but I just can't live like this. I've never lived in a community where I just feel like the Stepford Wives or something like that. And she said, well, find an adventure. I'd love to have, one last adventure before I die. And it's a long story, but I came to Puerto Rico. I found this piece of land and I said, listen, it's 50 beautiful acres on a stream and we can walk every day. And she said, let's go. So she sold her house there. We moved here. My sister lives in one house. My mom lives in the other house. And that's why we're here.
I thought it was because you just really enjoyed the fact that the time there's no
Oh, we don't have daylight savings times. Yeah, that's what made me move. But
just
as a,
for I don't get to do
yeah,
this. I won't call it a joke. I'll just call it a nice meme. Do you
okay.
have a second to do that real quick?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
because this is
your
show and
show.
tell. Well, it is, but I'm such a conscious host. I want to make sure the guest is happy every
Yeah, yeah.
single freaking second.
You got it.
All right, here you go. This is for you, but you might already have seen it. But if it's not for you, then it's for our audience. Okay, here we go.
Okay, sure.
So when you realize Captain America's suit doesn't have 50 stars, so he's actually
I have seen that. Yeah, I love that. That's great.
all
Yeah.
right. So you were saying, so that's a cool thing about the experience, and that was the reason. I mean, what a great reason.
Yeah,
And
it's
and
an
so,
adventure, but I really feel like that this is home for me. I love the vibe of the island. It has a slower pace, and I can do everything from here that I can in the United States, but I get to walk outside and go skinny dipping in the stream and just have a more adventurous life. But as far as what I'm doing now, it's actually been a decades long journey to get here. We just launched a platform called Circular Wealth with my partner. I was so fortunate to find an amazing partner. He lives in Croatia and just a phenomenal human being. He built one of the largest natural pharmaceutical companies in Europe. He sold that to Walgreens, so, he's got enough cash, he doesn't need to work the rest of his life. But when I told him about this concept of circular wealth, he got so excited. He's put all the money behind it, he's put all the infrastructure behind it. We've put it together over the last 2 years. And the reason I have been passionate about this is over the last 3 decades, I've co-founded two companies that have done over $2 billion in sales. So I've seen a lot of money flowing. And did you know that the words current and currency, they come from the same root? Our money is meant to flow. But the way our economic systems are designed, the money only flows one way. It flows up and then it gets stagnant. And the way that I look at it is I look at natural ecosystems. And if you look at the water cycle, if water evaporated, And then the cloud said, well, I'm not going to let rain go. It might never come back. All of nature would die. And to me, that's what happens with our economy. The concentration of wealth has become so extreme over the last 4 decades that it's just not sustainable. So I thought, okay, how can I look at a natural regenerative cycle and create an economic model that mirrors that?
Hmm.
So it took me a long time to develop the algorithms and the systems and all that. But what circular wealth is, it's a platform to reward customer acquisition in a way that's never been done before. Because you have affiliate marketing, you have multi-level marketing. Affiliate marketing is great in the sense that the person doing the work gets all the money, which is
Mhm.
great. But the problem is it's exhausting because every month you start at zero. And sales is hard. If you start at zero every month, you just burn out. So I thought, how can we take the power of a residual regenerative income and remove the kind of exploitation that I believe happens with multi-level marketing, where, when you're sitting on a top of tens of thousands of people and they're all struggling so you can succeed, it just didn't feel right to me. I had a crisis of consciousness happen when, I was making just ridiculous amounts of money, but I started really going through my organization, going, who's actually making money? I started picking up the phone and calling the people I knew best. And I'm like, how are you making it? I know what you make each month, but you're at the seminars every weekend, you're paying for ads, you're paying your desk rent. How are you making it? And they get really quiet. And then they go, I took a second out on my house, or I spent my inheritance, or I'm 60,000 in credit card debt, or some just heart-wrenching story. And I had to look in the mirror and go, my success is built on the sweaty back of other people's failure. And I just couldn't do that. And I actually left. I lived in an off-the-grid cabin for 7 years in the woods. I basically had almost no human contact. I mean, I talked to my family every once in a while, but I was
What age was
Grizzly
that?
Adams.
What age was
What's
that?
that?
What age was that?
Let's see. It was how old was I? I was from 40 to
Or how
47.
long ago was that?
Yeah, it
Maybe.
was like from age 40 to 47.
Okay.
And something happened with the company that I was the president of the company. It's called Income Net Communications. It was in Orange County, California. We had about 100 employees. When they hired me, they were losing 30,000 customers a month. It was like a long distance phone company thing. And they were just bleeding. And we developed a new compensation plan, a new structure, everything. We built it up. And we were gaining 5,000 customers a month in 18 months. So we just
Hmm.
totally turned it around. And I was about to go up on stage. There were about 1,000 people in the audience. And there was this room called the Fishbowl. And it was because it was all glass. And the owner of the company was in there. And he goes like this. And something in my gut just it something was wrong. And I walked in there. He didn't say hello. He didn't say how you doing. He said, we're shutting your division down. I'm like, what are you talking about? The sales division is the whole reason we turned this company around. The whole reason we have the success. And he says, you need to go up on stage right now. Tell them it's all shut down. We're closing the doors today. And Ken, it was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life because these people believed in me. I had, you know, led the parade for 18 months and I had to go up there and it just felt like somebody ripped my guts out. And what I found out was there was a clause in the contract that said if the sales division was ever shut down completely, they didn't have to continue to pay the residual commissions my salespeople earned. And so all of a sudden their margins went through the roof. He sold the company for a fortune and all my salespeople got screwed. And I was just done. I was like, people lie, they cheat, they manipulate. And I was just like, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I just went into the woods.
So the Woods, 7 years, uh,
Yeah.
wrote a lot of books, I'm guessing.
I didn't write as much as I got really quiet. I just spent a lot of time watching spiders make their webs and how the water flowed. And it was just a really introspective time.
Hmm. And you had a phone, you called mom, you called people.
Yeah, I had a phone. I come in once a week to get supplies. Um, I actually, the last 2 years there, I was recruited to run a multi-level company that was bringing solar to the world. We were the first company to do the zero down solar lease. We started that
Hmm.
whole market. And they recruited me. And I thought, solar, this is perfect. Nobody has to buy anything. Nobody can fill up their garages with diet powder. Nobody can be hurt financially. There's no monthly quota. And I thought, this solves all the problems of multi-level marketing. So I put my head down again. We started building it. We did $1 billion in sales in under 2 years. But the problem was, I didn't know anything about the solar industry. They just said, listen, you make the sales, we'll install the systems. Well, I mean, this was in 2005, and the infrastructure for the solar industry just was not there. So we sold 38,000 units, and they only installed 12,000. So my salespeople only got paid when the install happened. So again, I felt like I led people off a cliff because and this was my fault. I didn't do the due diligence. They just said go, and I heard the gun go off, and I started running, and it was frustrating. But the one bit of pride that I have is so many people that work with us then became real leaders in the solar industry and helped create something that I think is very positive for our country. I was just too far ahead of the parade, the bleeding edge instead of the cutting edge. But I've been in solar for decades now, and I really believe in the industry and what it can do.
Are you still doing that now? You're not in that
I'm not actively with it. I'm working on the circular wealth
Mhm.
model. We'll probably bring a solar aspect into it, but not right now.
And the circular wealth, is that something people can actually go look at right now?
Absolutely. It's active right now. We just launched. I mean, we're doing our stress testing right now. It's circularwealth.com. And what it is, it's basically a structure where affiliates can get paid a lot more because most of the time with affiliates, you get paid 5 to 15%. We went out because of the track record, both my partner and I have, we were able to negotiate commissions of 30 to 50% that our affiliates are able to earn. And what we do is the person who actually makes the sale earns between 60 to 85% of that, depending on their volume. The more you sell, the higher percentage you get. But then we take 10% and we keep that for the platform because we have to cover expenses and all that stuff.
Right.
And everything else goes into a profit sharing pool. And here's the difference that we did, Ken, is with multi-level marketing, you have your downline. I hate that term because it sounds so derogatory. But what we did is we put everything in one pool. So everybody plays in the same pie. And then we said, every month you're going to earn shares for the activities you do. And at the end of the month, we're going to say, okay, there's $2 million in the pie and there's 4 million shares. So for this month, every share is worth 50 cents. And then what we did that I don't think anybody's ever done before. And it was something that I learned over years is I found the most productive, my top sales reps were when they had a residual income between 10 to 30 grand a month. There was a saying one of my mentors taught me is people will gain their importance from production or politics. And what I found is once people started making more than 30 grand a month, their incentive decreased a little bit. And they would start calling me from the beach and going, hey, I don't like what the company's doing here. And they became political nightmares. And I'm going, I'm paying this guy a fortune to be a thorn in my side. And as a company owner, it was just frustrating because I was like, I'd much rather have 3 people or 10 people making 10 grand a month than this one guy making 100 grand a month who's not even being productive anymore at all. So what we did, and it's the most powerful and controversial part of our system, we said, okay, the part we put in the profit sharing pool, that's actually the part we would normally keep as a platform. I mean, most of the time you pay out 60 to 85%, the platform keeps the rest. We said, hey, we're going to pay this out to you, but we're going to pay it out the way we believe is going to create the longest impact long-term and the greatest growth and the greatest success for everybody, including yourself. So what we do is say, on the money we invest in you and the shares you earn, on the first $3,000, we're going to invest 100% into you. On the next 3,000, we're going to invest 90% into you, and 10% is going to go back into the pool so new people getting started can make money faster. On the next 3,000, we're going to invest 60% into you and 40% back into the pool. And once you're over $30,000 a month that you're earning off of our profit sharing pool that we're giving to you, we're going to invest 10% into you and 90% back in the pool. So my hope with this, Ken, and this is my dream, I may be naive, but every multi-level convention that I ever went to, you had people up there with their yacht or their Mercedes and are going, look what I bought, look who I am, look what I did. And it's conspicuous consumption. What I dream about is people up there going, because of what I built, because of the huge circles and impact I was able to create, last month, the company was able to give back $400,000 to all of you so you could make money faster. I'm doing fine. I don't need more money. I'm doing great. But I feel so inspired every month. What gets me up in the morning, what fires me up is knowing that the more production I can do, the more you guys are going to earn. And I think it solves one of the biggest problems of multi-level marketing because there's something that most people don't know and don't talk about is if I recruit you, you become my economic slave.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time you sell, I make a commission. Every time I sell, you never get paid a dime. It's a one-way relationship. And
Right.
I don't think most of us would be involved in a relationship that only flowed one way in our life. And it's the reason we feel weird inviting our friends because, like, I know I'm exploiting you a little bit, but come take a look at this. But with this, the difference is as I succeed more, it actually flows back to you. We have a partnership. It's a flywheel instead of a hierarchy.
Yep. So thank you for that. And what you said, conspicuous, what was
Consumption,
consumption? Okay.
conspicuous consumption. Yeah.
I love that. And I came up with something just for the heck of it for you.
Yeah. Please.
But since I do publishing, I have
Yeah.
to come up with titles, and I don't have to. I love to come up
Yeah.
with great
You'd
titles.
love it. Yeah.
Instead of downline, named after your mom, strong line.
I like that, but we don't use down outline at all. We use circles. The way we say is you build
Ah,
your
nice.
circle of influence. I don't want any terminology that triggers people's mind back to multi-level marketing because we are not that.
Well,
But
I thought
thanks.
I accomplished a lot because
Yeah.
last night I had a deadline for a book, and
Uh-huh.
this gnat, you can barely see it on my finger, but
Yeah, I see it.
it was all day, all night, and I was going like this, and I never could hit it.
Really?
And when you said conspicuous consumption, I nailed it, and it was dumb enough to just sit for a
There you
second,
go.
and
I
I got
like
it.
it. Okay, I'll take that as a sign.
So let's give you a little love on your site. There we go. So,
Circularwealth.com, baby.
and
So
since
it's
I have
free to join. There's no monthly dues. It's free for our brands to join. So basically, we're a two-sided marketplace. So we go to our brands and say, listen, there's no cost to join. There's no monthly fee. When we sell something, you pay us a commission. Yeah, it's going to be higher than you're used to paying. But what you're going to do is you're going to start rewarding loyalty for connection instead of clicks. Because right now, and Ken, this is one of the things that really inspired me when I learned this. Do you know that we spend more money every year on customer acquisition than we do on the U.S. military? And I thought
just so
if
you know,
some
I'm not
yeah,
surprised by that.
what inspired me was I thought if somebody came to me and said, we're going to give you the budget of the U.S. military to change the world, I'd be excited. Well, we actually have more than that because the reason that Google, Facebook, TikTok have valuations in the trillions of dollars is because they influence our eyes and they influence our buying power. But who actually decides where we look and what we buy? We have the ultimate power. So the problem is there's never been a platform, there's never been a structure that empowers us. So that's what Circular Wealth does. It's a structure where 90% of the money from customer acquisition flows back to the communities and the connections and the relationships that really make things happen. And that's what gets me juiced.
That is juicy, and I'll just say that for customer acquisition, I've seen companies like Apple
Yeah.
that focus on the happiness and the experience being happy. That it's not as hard of a lift
Uh-huh.
because the customers do the work for you,
Correct.
cutting the amount of acquisition costs you would have to do by convincing people that would otherwise not see the social proof. I do want to say that your website here, I mean, I think I might just look at it sometimes just to see the yellow dots and happiness.
Yeah. We hired a great company out of Europe that put that together. And you
Yeah,
know
I just want
what's
to. If I'd known that this site existed before, I probably would have just kept you on the sidebar and just listened to you while I just look at the site.
look at the yellow dots.
So, just another aspect of MLM, and I did Herbalife, and I did a couple of them, but
Yeah.
and I did very well, and my conscious was affected because I
Yeah.
saw the exploitation, but more importantly, as you put it, your head down.
Yeah.
Mine was I was just extremely aggressive, and I knew what I had to do, so I did it, and I knew it was a numbers game, and I got really good at it because your tongue
Exactly.
gets silver, your tongue gets silver,
It
and so
absolutely does.
I want to show, I guess, this little aspect here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So I just had it up here. It was the percent of. I'm just going to put it up. So percent of multi-level failure. And
Oh,
I'm
it's
talking
like
five.
99%.
It is. And
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't even really need to look it up. I could just tell you that, but it is
Yeah.
99%. And
It's
that's a problem because you are telling everyone that they'll do well. And if you're doing well, you're the 1%.
well that's the thing that got me was I justified it in my head saying, well, I do it. They should be able to do it. But
Right.
I also ran a 4 minute mile and most people
Right.
can't do that.
Right.
They genetically cannot do it. So I had to really look in the mirror that going, just because I could do it doesn't mean it's right to lead people. And I had to admit that I had led them off a cliff. I mean,
Mhm.
that old line from Catcher in the Rye where he's catching people before they fall off the cliff. I was leading him off a cliff. And that's a hard thing to admit, to look in the mirror and go tens of thousands of people. And when I wrote my book, that was really the reason that I wrote it. It was to kind of process those emotions. And the one thing that I appreciate, because we used to do this thing, we would go up on stage and we draw this circle, we divide it in four. And we'd say, we're the fastest growing company in America, cover of Inc., 3,000% growth, or no, it's 30,000% growth. We've made more millionaires than anybody, blah, 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 best compensation plan in history. We have the best products, good housekeeping, rated us the highest, blah, blah, blah. So what's the fourth quadrant? It's you. So if you're not making it, what's the problem here? It's you. But don't worry, we'll fix you too. Just come to this seminar. It's only $3,000 or $500 or whatever it was that week. And we made people feel like they were broken if they couldn't make it here. And it was really the system that was broken. And I had so many people reach out to me after my book came out and they said, I so appreciated reading your words because I saw you on stage and realizing that the internal struggles that you went through and what you saw. And I'm not broken and I'm doing this now and I'm doing great. But I felt like I was such a failure when I left that company and you helped heal that wound. I think so many of our systems are designed to break us down. And the more we can speak to that truth of human integrity and really pull back the curtain, I think the better we are as a society, a country, and a culture.
I agree. Uh, I'm guessing a second book is due out after all that you've learned.
What I've been focused on is screenplays.
Really?
I've written six now, and I think it can have a bigger impact faster.
Mhm.
And I'm really excited about that process.
The pulling the curtain back, as you've put it a couple times. You weren't get specific. You just said you wrote a book and it got them in trouble. Do you care to be specific about what was disturbing you so much about what they were doing?
Yeah, the big issue that I had was to earn all the bonuses in the compensation plan, you had to sell $5,000 worth of product each month. And most people just don't have the skill sets to do that. So
Right.
the commissions would roll up to me and a few others. And the the culture was just kind of abusive. Like I didn't, it's not that I didn't see it, but I chose not to see it, if I'm honest. I
Mhm.
think our ability to not see things is in direct relationship to how much money we're making by being blind. And I was making a lot of money, but the owner of the company, he became more and more abusive the more successful he became. I think there was actually a part of him at the beginning that believed in the mission and the cause. But as more and more money started to roll in, I think there's a part of us, especially as men, who think once the millions come in, then I'll feel whole. Then my heart won't have this hole in it. But when the millions come in and the hole is still there, then we try drugs or women or whatever. And he just became, he did the women and all drugs and all that stuff, but he just became more abusive and more demanding it. And it got to a point that I was just like, this is damaging to my soul, and it's damaging to people that I'm bringing in here. So, I left. But as far as the legal aspects, the interesting thing that happened and the importance of saving your documents was, um, it was a big legal case. He was sued after my book by 22 states, by the FTC. It was, a big legal event. And the lawyers were going back and forth. But one of the things he said was, you cannot, as a trainer, when you go up on stage, you cannot teach the specifics of the marketing plan because they won't understand it. And if they do understand it, they'll think it's too hard. Well, it turns out it's actually illegal not to teach the specifics of the marketing plan because you can manipulate and mislead people, which is what you wanted to do. And he gave us a document on Equinox letterhead saying, as a trainer, you can never talk about God. That's for me to do. You'll mess it up. And you can never talk about the specifics of the compensation plan. And I'm not very organized, but for some reason, I kept that document. So, 6 years later, when we were in court, I brought that out. And as soon as I did that, they settled. They knew they couldn't win, and they didn't want to, Bill didn't want to go to jail. So they settled the case, and the government fined him. And this is an interesting thing because at the time they fined him $50 million, but everything now says 40 million. And I always wonder, where did that other 10 million go? Because the document said 50 million. I saw it, but now everything says 40 million. So that's the first thing. But they allowed him to keep $10 million, keep one of his houses. But his deal was he had to liquidate everything else, and he could never do multi-level marketing again. They thought he was too dangerous. He had a skill set I have honestly never seen. I mean, I've been to Tony Robbins, I've been to all the speakers. He was like so gifted. Like he would be up on stage for 6 hours straight and nobody would get up to pee. Like nobody would move. I've never seen anybody that had that ability. He was incredibly gifted. And I often wonder if he would have used that to really shift things in a positive way, what could have happened.
And what was the gentleman's name?
Bill Gould, Gould.
Okay, Bill Gould. All right. Well, that is quite a skill set, of course. Yeah. So, what is next for you?
Well, the big focus is circular wealth. Our goal is to have a million people on the platform because the power of this is something I learned. And one thing I'll always appreciate, there's a guy named Jigger Shaw, who most people won't know that name, but he was huge in the solar world. He founded a company called Sun Edison, did incredibly well, and he actually became the head of the loan department for the U.S. Department of Energy. He managed $400 billion. And when I came out with the model we did, and we did $1 billion in sales in 2 years, we rocked the solar industry. Like the old guard hated us because they were like, they're selling zero down. For us, it's 40,000 down. And people just thought I was the devil. Like they just hated me. And Jigger Shaw got up on stage in front of the whole solar industry. And he said, instead of attacking this guy, why don't you learn what he's doing? Because he's done more sales in 18 months than the entire industry has done in 30 years. So why don't you learn from it? And he kind of took me under his wing in a way. And he called me up like a year after that. And he said, Morgan, we have the solutions. What we need is distribution. Why don't you build the network that gets around all the channels that block real change? So you don't have to go through the typical channels. You go directly to the customers and you pay those commissions directly to the customers in a way that can really shift things. And if we have 1 million people who are part of a network across the globe, and believe it or not, this is something that Bill Gould actually put in my head back in 1992. I'll never forget this. It's part of my screenplay and part of my book, where he said, imagine if we have satellites on reaching every country in the world, and you have 10,000 people in your sales force who are in the Middle East, and 10,000 who are in Germany, and 10,000 who are in Russia. Will you read the news differently? Will you have a different perspective? Will the world feel more connected? I'm like, yes. He's like, this isn't about selling water filters. It's about changing the world. And I'm like, yes. And I was just on fire. And I thought, we actually have the technology now and we have the ability that we can create that. And the key is that the money goes back into the system and goes back to the people. Because anytime wealth becomes too concentrated. It's like if energy becomes too concentrated, it's a nuclear bomb. If wealth becomes too concentrated, it's gonna be a problem. So our system is designed specifically to regenerate the wealth back into the communities. And we even designed it, Ken, so that if we ever sell, up to 90% of the platform value goes back to the pros who helped us build the platform. I
That's
don't think there's
amazing.
ever been a company that's
Yeah.
built into their DNA that the people who build it participate at every single level of the company.
So Bill Gold is doing good things now. Do we know?
Well, he was not a lot. I haven't had. He took me off his Christmas card list, believe it or not. I haven't had any contact with him in decades now. But he he's still a very very wealthy man. He invested in storage facilities and did very very well with that. But he tried to make a comeback about 5 years ago, but it completely flopped. Um, so I really don't know what he's doing. I hope he's well. And a lot of people think I hate him and stuff. I don't hate the man at all. I mean, he did so many good things for me where he toughened me up in a lot of ways. He showed me skill sets that I still use today.
Hmm.
The 7 years were some of the best, most exciting. It was like hyper life. I mean, we had the most fun. We'd go on the most epic vacations, had these seminars with people who I loved and cared about and still are some of my closest friends today. And I don't ever regret that time. I just felt that it got to the point where it was hurting more people than it was helping. And if I didn't say something, I was complicit.
Well, I think when he watches this, I think you can rest assured you're going to be back on the Christmas list. I
You
am,
think?
I, I
I
want you
don't
back.
know.
I want you back on this Christmas list. And
Okay.
as a proponent of doing good things, I want to do a good thing for both of you. Get you back on the
Okay.
Christmas list.
Cool.
All right, so we're going to segue to the rapid fire.
Okay.
Rapid fire is how Morgan Styler is programmed, and if you want to be more like Morgan, these things might help you get there. So it's 5 questions. As fast as I ask them, you answer them, and I know that you asked for an opportunity to possibly expand for a quick second. So of course you can,
Yeah.
because
Okay. Cool.
only because you're smart though.
I appreciate
Yeah, when some people don't understand English or they don't understand words, I say you can't even say anything, nothing. All right.
it. Okay.
Because I don't know the 7 languages that your dad knows. I can get,
True.
but it's funny. I'm taking so much Spanish right now. I'm almost able to sound like an idiot in Spanish.
All right. Cool.
All
We
right,
got
you
to come
ready?
down to Puerto Rico.
I know I need to with my Captain America suit. All right, here we go. Book that changed your life.
My mom gave it to me when I was 12. It's called The Secret Life of Plants. I know it's kind of obscure, but what it taught me is how everything is connected. And that impacted my life.
The movie that inspires you.
I think Dead Poet Society is the one that really pulls at my heartstrings on how we have to live our truth. And that one always gets me.
It's amazing how many movies are listed in this round here that are Robin Williams movies. He's
Oh, really?
yeah, he's
Yeah.
on a
And
huge.
I think he had that gift because he had that depression and he didn't want other people to feel it.
Right.
So interesting. Yeah.
Um, Song that gets you going.
In the Living Years by Mike and the Mechanics. And I think it's because it's about a father and a son and the father dying before he can really share. I cry every time I hear that damn song.
Well,
Before the son can really share what he meant to him.
I'm going to listen to that today because I haven't heard that, and I have the
You
album.
listen to that. If you don't cry, I will be shocked.
I will cry. I will tell you,
Okay.
I'm a crier. I
Yeah,
mean,
me too.
I watch a movie, I can already know it's the
Yeah,
movie I need. And by the way, I can watch a movie that I've already seen and then cry again.
it's still great. Yeah.
Who's your hero?
Living or dead?
Your choice. And you can, and by the way, you can do a fork. You can say like one.
Okay, dead right now. I'm going to go with General Smedley. Butler. He's the one who stood up to the business plot. I just read all about him, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, he said something that to me was so powerful. He said, "I've served at the highest levels of the military for 33 years and 7 months, and my conclusion is, I was nothing more than a strong man for capital. I was a racketeer for big business. The only difference is Capone could only operate in three districts. I operated on three continents. And he went through everything he did and how it just opened doors for United Fruit Company, for Shell Oil, for all these things. And he was such a powerful man. And he said, if the American people ever truly learn what we're doing, they will stand up and demand something better. And
Hmm.
that's what I so want for our democracy, because America has this incredible ability to look in the mirror and see our flaws and admit them and show them to the rest of the world. And I think that's when we're our strongest as a country, when we say, yeah, we're not a perfect union. We're striving to be a more perfect union. And I think right now that's a critical thing for our country, for us to look in the mirror and see where we're falling short and step up to the plate.
Well, it has been so enjoyable, and we are not stopping. It's so enjoyable to hear someone teach. And I'm a student of life, so I love it. And I have never done this before. I've done over 600 shows, but we are going to exit real quick just to give some
Oh yeah.
homework for people if they'd like to check them out. And
Yeah.
I'll be reading this. The reason I put the window up is I want to read it after the show. So um,
And I've written a screenplay about it, so hopefully it'll be out as a movie soon. And if you want to read about the business plot, that's what it's called. It's been erased from our history books almost, but it's coming back a little bit, and it tells the whole story. There was actually a congressional hearing, and they concluded this was real, it was funded, it could have happened.
hmm.
You stopped it.
Now that was the dead. Did you want to exercise the live one?
I think right now my hero is my mom, because I just so appreciate the courage that she's willing to look at. She was sexually abused as a child, a very young child at the age of 5, and it took her a long time to look at that. But she's just so authentic and honest of dealing with it, and how it made her be small so much of her life because she didn't want to be seen. And her courage of just facing everything in life and not shying away from any emotion or any fear. To me, that's a beautiful human. And I'm blessed to have her as my mom.
That's not only a great answer. I'm not surprised that the answer is your mom.
Yeah.
Uh, the book that you wrote, what was it called?
Spellbound, My Journey Through a Tangled Web of Success. It's no longer in print. I sold all 10,000 copies in like six months. There are some used ones. So I saw them online for as much as $200 because they're just not there. But I do see some on Amazon that come on cheaper sometimes. I still have about 10 copies, but it's just not in print anymore. It's just not relevant at this time.
I should have demanded a copy from you.
I'm happy to send you one. You send me your address. I'll mail you one.
You'll be, and then the next one they're going to say, "I only have 9 left."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad I've earned one because that's actually quite a testament. I have 10 left, and I will get you one.
Absolutely. I'll
And
give
by
you
the
one.
way, I would love to read it actually. So
Cool.
I don't
Yeah.
just want a book. I mean, there's a lot of people that collect books. I do as well, just so we're clear. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I read ones like this. All right.
Cool. Sounds
When
good.
you have 4,000 books in your library and you're a publisher, I guarantee you're not reading all the books.
I guarantee you.
All right. So moving to your hero. Now we got what you live by.
I hope this doesn't land wrong, but it's actually two that I wrote that I live by. One is, things are not always what they appear. Our choice is faith in love or fear. And I think if you look at every situation with that filter, it really helps give perspective. And the second one is, our greatest renewable energy is the human spirit. And I think so much of the human spirit gets squashed or put in a box because our systems don't honor our souls. And I
Mm.
think if we can design systems that really honor the human spirit, the potential of what we can do as a species is unlimited, but we have to create the structures that support our brilliance.
Thus, the reason for some expansion. Yes, Morgan, well played, sir. Well played. So I am so happy that this interesting connection turned into a show. And my show is
Yeah,
about amplifying goodness. It's about leadership, and it's about the essence of who are the people that are moving the world in the right direction. And so this is my way of honoring them. And since I have a little more distribution muscle than maybe the average bear, I'm
yeah,
hoping it inspires and ignites people to say, I can do it too, or I want to be part of the leadership in our world that needs to do the good things.
absolutely.
So thank you for being on the Dr. Smiley Show. It has been a pleasure.
I appreciate you. Thank you.